Hello there. Welcome back to Tranquility du Jour, nourishing conversations about living a full and meaningful life with doses of tranquility. This is episode 514. I'm your host, Kimberly Wilson, bringing you tranquility through this podcast since 2005. Today we're talking with style coach Megan LaRussa on getting dressed in an authentic way, how our style evolves, and those must-have items. You can find a direct link to the show notes at kimberlywilson.com/514. Go ahead and hit subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode of Tranquility du Jour. And if you'd like to have the app, you can find out more about that at kimberlywilson.com/podcast. And for those of you new to Tranquility du Jour, a big welcome. Basically, we're an online community seeking more tranquility in the everyday through the 5 tenets of mindfulness, style, wellness, compassion, and creativity. So I'm wrapping up the TDJ Lifestyle 5-week e-course, which has been so fun. And this week is all about style. So this podcast is very apropos. And next around the bend is the New Year's virtual retreat. So that's going to be happening on January 1st from 2 to 5 p.m. Would love to have you join if you're interested. Now, these, of course, are typically done in person, but due to COVID, this will be online. But the good news is you don't have to fly into Washington, D.C. or drive in. You can easily just hop on the internet and join us for this 3-hour extravaganza. And there's a link to that also in the show notes. One thing I know about you is that you love books. And I also know it can be tricky to find the time, which is why Audible is an excellent resource to listen anywhere from various devices, your iPhone, tablet, computer, and you can pick up wherever you left off. And I hope you'll be following along this month as we read Buy Yourself the Effing Lilies by Tara Schuster. And of course, you can pick this up on Audible with a free 30-day trial and get your first book for free. Just go to audibletrial.com/tranquility du jour. Happy reading. Megan's mission as a style coach is to empower, educate, and inspire women to dress for the life they desire. She's worked with hundreds of women through VIP one-on-one style coaching and her online Style Yourself Chic programs to help them dress to showcase their best self and feel confident wherever the day takes them. So you can learn more about Megan in the show notes and on her blog, StyleYourselfChic.com. Welcome, Megan.
Thanks for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here.
I'm so delighted to have you. And as we were chatting kind of before we began, I'm like, I don't remember how I came across you. But when I did, I was like, I need her on the show.
Well, I'm glad you found me. That's the beauty of social media these days.
Totally. Well, tell us a bit about your style journey, and what it is really that you're offering for women now, because I love that you've created this business about styling yourself chic.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you called it style journey because that truly is what it is. I think like anything in life, it doesn't just happen overnight. It is an evolution. And I see that with all my clients. So for myself personally, I've always loved fashion. I think most people in the fashion industry would probably tell you the same thing. It's the only type of job I've ever had. Even growing up, my mom said I would come home from school and I would have completely rearranged my outfit to make it my own. And, I think like a lot of people in the industry, I started out working retail and kind of worked my way up. When I was in college, I had the pleasure of working under a woman who was a fashion director for a major kind of chain retailer. And that really opened my eye to that there's a world outside of fashion design and retail, both of which I loved, but I was so enamored with this world of what's called trend forecasting. And so working under her as a trend forecaster, I really started learning where fashion comes from. And that was very eye-opening to me. And so after college, I moved to New York where, I think every fashion lover wants to be and worked as a trend forecaster. And so I was there for a while, and something that really struck a chord with me was that this is where fashion is coming from, but so often women feel intimidated or like fashion isn't for them. And so it felt very disconnected for me. And also something I realized as I now know my body type is an hourglass. So as an hourglass, I wasn't that traditional model body type that a lot of people in the industry, are. And so it was very frustrating to me that, okay, I had this great job in New York. I was a trend forecaster. I was doing what I thought was like my dream job. And I wasn't really feeling confident. I wasn't feeling good in my own skin, and it didn't feel authentic to me. And what I came to realize was that fashion is for everyone in a different way than maybe the fashion industry likes to project. So when I left that job, I moved back to my hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. And I was like, what in the world am I going to do here in fashion? Because I knew at that point I did not want to do retail. So I had worked with a health coach and was really amazed by the world of coaching. And so I started my style coaching business. And that was about 10 years ago. And so when I started that, my mission was what I had learned about myself in New York was to help women reconnect with themselves, feel confident about themselves, and make fashion about them and not about what they should be wearing or what their body should look like. So that was kind of where it all began. And of course, I think like every fashion lover at that time, I was also doing a lot of other things, anything fashion that came my way. I was styling photo shoots. I was working on runway shows. I was doing commercials. But at the end of the day, I kept coming back to the style coaching piece because I just love helping women feel authentic in their own skin and helping them realize that fashion really is for everyone. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like what inspired me to start my business.
Yeah, I love it. So 10 years then you've been doing style coaching.
Yes.
And for our listeners who are like, well, what exactly is style coaching? Can you tell us a little bit about like how you begin working with someone and do you start with like going through their closet or, going through Pinterest?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's funny because when I started style coaching and calling it that, people were very confused because I think up to that point, it had mainly been, people would hire a personal shopper or a personal stylist. And so I think people were like, well, how is a style coach different? And yes, there are a lot of overlaps, but the way I work with a client is first and foremost, we have to get to the root of who they are and the foundations. I always equate it to if you're building a house, you wouldn't, just throw down a foundation and build this monstrosity of a house. You have to create a solid foundation first. So I never work with a client as far as shopping or cleaning out their closets go until we do that first initial step of, like you said, Pinterest, looking at Pinterest, looking through magazines, anything that might inspire them. And it's so interesting because I would say 95% of my clients come to me and they're like, I think I'm classic, but I really have no idea what my style is. Because, and I'm sure you can understand this. I think all of us as busy women, we don't take time to think like, what is my personal style? And so it really gives them a safe place to dive into that. And also something to consider is we as humans, it takes us just a few seconds for us to see someone and to automatically categorize who they are in our head. And I often tell my clients this can feel kind of scary or like people are judging you, but it's not that because you're the one in control. Ultimately, you're the one in control of what you are presenting to the world through your outward appearance. So take the reins back and figure out what your style is and the image that you desire to project. So that's the very first thing we do, as well as understanding their body type. So like I said, when I lived in New York and I finally realized that what I had been trying to wear, like all my model fashion friends were wearing, and I was so frustrated because they didn't look good on me. And I thought, well, something's wrong with me and fashion maybe isn't for me. But in actuality, I just need to understand my body type. And that's very, I would say is very freeing for clients when they realize what their body type is. So that's what we do first.
I see. Yeah, no, perfect. Well, and so whenever you help people kind of clarify their type of style,
Yes.
do you give them like, are you like, okay, here's the 5 or 10 that you might fall under, and then here's the 5 or 10 body types, and here's kind of where we, help determine where you fit?
Yes, absolutely. So with body types, this is so interesting. Something I learned years ago from another style coach in New York. She introduced me to this incredible way of analyzing body types, because there are actually, maybe 40 different body types.
Wow.
I know, right? And there are 4 main ones: the hourglass, the rectangle, the triangle, and the inverted triangle.
Okay.
But this is where I feel like we've seen in magazines growing up, like, you're an apple or a pear.
Yeah.
Well, we as women are not fruit. We are beautiful shapes. So that's the 4 main body types are those. But then you also have to take into consideration your height and your weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of times, I may have a client who's an hourglass, but I have someone who's 5'1" versus 6 feet. What fits them is totally different. So that's, with body types, there's so many factors that come into play. And then with personal style, there's a book I love to give my clients upon our first session together. And it's called I Love Your Style. And it's by Amanda Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
And so she really dives into the main kind of archetypal personal styles, if you will. And so with that being said, it's really important for my clients to kind of go through this book and see, like, what does classic really mean? What does bohemian really mean? What does eclectic really mean? So once they understand the different types of personal style, then we can have a conversation and really go through Pinterest or a magazine, and from there see, okay, I might be classic, but maybe with a dash of minimal. And like I said, there are different types of classics. So there's so many different pieces of the puzzle. Because if you think about classic, for example, I keep going back to that because so many of my clients come to me saying they're classic. And I think a lot of times they're classic because they're afraid of trends, and they think that classic is safe. If they are classic, then they're not going to mess up. So classic is an umbrella, though. You've got kind of a ladylike classic. Think of, an Audrey Hepburn.
Right.
You have a preppy classic. Think Lily Pulitzer. You have menswear classic. There are just so many different types. And so when you dive into those different facets of whatever your personal style is, it's very freeing, again, because you feel like you're connecting to your personal, like, who you are authentically. So, yeah.
I love that. And I think that ties into, my question, was like, that I was going to ask is, how do we get dressed in an authentic way? Right.
Yes.
And so I think what I'm hearing from you is get clear on your style.
Yes.
And get clear on your body type. And you mentioned 4: hourglass, triangle, inverted triangle. And what was the 4th?
Rectangle.
A rectangle. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
But it's kind of like, with this, how would you encourage people to, okay, once you're clear on your body type, once you're clear on your style, then what's the next step? Is it to then shop your closet or clear out closet? Like, what do you think?
Yes, that's a great question. So after we create that initial foundation, it's all about getting into the closet, because I have a lot of clients. I'll be like, oh, I'm too embarrassed for you to see what's in there, or we just need to start from scratch. But I really need to be able to see, even if we start from scratch, which is very rare, because people always have some things that are going to work. I need to see what their shopping habits have been. So are they a sale shopper? Are they someone that's just been buying what the sales associate has told them to buy? Have they been, just buying basics or just buying fun things? Because once I understand their shopping habits, then it allows me to really, again, help them from the ground up so that they become smarter shoppers. So it's a really another piece of the foundational puzzle. But I love the closet cleanse because it really does help them feel like they can have a fresh start. It's really, again, empowering.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's, for me, and I don't know if this is kind of how you go through the process, but I just dump everything on my bed and I'm like, okay, everything. And then, just slowly put back and then donate or repair or whatever, what needs, to find new homes. But
Yes.
it's a big process.
It is a big process. And I think for a lot of women, it's very overwhelming. I mean, I understand that about a year ago, I decided to go through my kitchen with an organizer, and she, helped me cleanse my kitchen. And it can feel, I almost need to have her there to make me do it, even though I wanted to do it, because sometimes it can just feel overwhelming. And I think with clothes, especially if you have, spent money on your clothes, a lot of my clients will say, I'm just afraid I'm going to get rid of the wrong thing.
Mhm.
Or, well, I spent a lot on that, or I have good memories in that. And so as women, we're very attached to our clothes in that way. And so having someone else there to help you assess, I think can be very beneficial to make sure you're getting rid of the right stuff that's just not serving you anymore. And then, like you were saying, knowing what to do with it. So do you donate it? Do you repair it? Do you consign it? That kind of thing.
So what would you say kind of for the average closet, or like the 10 things that we should all have?
Yes, I love this question. And I actually, when I do a lot of speaking engagements, I talk about this topic because you have to have foundational pieces to be able to make outfits. So I often tell, when I'm speaking to groups, tell women that you often can fall into one of two categories. The first category is like the basic. You are someone that every time you go shopping, you buy like another pair of black pants or another white shirt. Or you fall into the category of, I call it the bright, shiny object syndrome, which I can fall into. You see something really fun and you're like, ooh, yes, I want it. But if you don't have both categories in your closet, it can be very hard to make outfits, because the basic woman that is attracted to basics can feel very boring. The bright, shiny object woman can feel very frustrated because she has this closet full of clothes, but nothing to wear because she has nothing to pair back with the fun objects. So as far as the 10 must-have items, I think we can definitely start with some of the basics because you got to have those. And these are meant to be updated every few years. I think a lot of times we think of classic basics as, oh, I can have them for 20, 30 years. But even basics change and evolve, and we need to make sure we keep those up to date as well. So the first thing, I think, especially during these times when we're all a little bit more casual, a great fitting pair of dark wash jeans. And when I say dark wash, I mean, no whiskering, no fading, no distressing, because they really can be dressed up or down and they go with everything. So you want to pick a pair based on your body type. So if you are an inverted triangle, for example, where your shoulders are broader than your hips, then you would probably want to do more of a boot cut or a cropped ankle flare jean, because that will balance out your shoulders. And if you are maybe an hourglass, maybe you do more of a skinny jean to just maintain the balance of your silhouette. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a basic white t-shirt or white silk blouse, whatever kind of works better for your lifestyle. I have some clients that, are more professional and they need that basic white silk blouse. Some clients that are more of a stay-at-home mom, they need that white V-neck t-shirt. And these may be things that sound obvious, but for a lot of my clients, they're just not as fun to buy. And so they either buy them that are not great quality, or they don't even have this thing in their closet. So with the blouse or the t-shirt, V-neck, like what you and I both have on, is most flattering. It's truly like universally flattering on all body types. So V-neck is really great. And I will say that for some clients, if they're short-waisted, V-necks can feel frustrating because they can become too plunging. So that's when you need to look for maybe a petite shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I was just working with a client recently, and all the V-neck t-shirts were just she felt too exposed. So even though she's not a petite person, her waist allowed for us to find a Gap and an Eileen Fisher white V-neck t-shirt that was petite, and it was perfect for her. So there's something for everybody out there. And so those are two good foundationals. Another good foundational item to have, I personally think having a dress on hand in your favorite color, like a solid, flattering dress in your favorite color, is a great go-to. Of course, we always hear about the LBD or little black dress, which is a fantastic item to have too. But why not an LCD, a little colorful dress? Because I think that color is something that can really lift our spirits, and it's something that can really showcase our authentic selves too. And doing a solid color can feel a little less overwhelming for my clients that are used to neutrals versus something that's print as well. And again, pick it based on your body type.
And prints are really big right now, right? Like I'm looking at your prints dress, which is so fun. And it's funny, I picked up because I'm all about black, right? And I picked up a black floral dress and I was like, I feel like wallpaper, but I love it.
I know. You just hit the nail on the head. Like I've had so many clients be like, I feel like I'm a sofa fabric, upholstery fabric, but that's just like what's in right now is exactly that: wallpaper, curtains, sofa fabric, all that kind of stuff. We're definitely seeing a lot of just whimsical prints these days, which is fun. And so when you are looking at these, I have some clients that'll be like, these prints are just too overwhelming for me. And so that's when you do it like you have today, in like a little scarf or in a shoe, or maybe it's a t-shirt you put under a vest. Start small. Baby steps are really key so that you don't feel insecure when you walk out the door and what you have on.
And any other foundational, Megan, that you would say kind of to add to that list? Because I know there's 10 and we'll just cover like maybe one or two more, but is there anything else where you're like, okay, you got to get this in your closet? For some people, it's like the beige trench, right? It's, or the little black pants, we haven't mentioned the black pant yet.
Yes, exactly. 100% the little black pant. But it is funny because the little black pants, it used to be like very high up on my list, but now that so many of my clients are more casual these days or working from home, it's not as high up there. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think that if you haven't assessed your black pants in a while, 100% do, and see if they need replenishing, because there are so many great deals going on right now. So it's a great time to replenish these basics for sure. And with the black pants, make sure they fit your body type. Again, that's so important. And we didn't touch on shoes. So I'll just touch on like a foundational shoe.
Sure.
So I think of course I could say black, but I'm going to say metallic, a metallic flat based on your personal style. For some clients, that's a loafer. For some clients, that's a ballet flat. For some clients, that's a sneaker. So pick which style flat most resonates with your lifestyle and with your personal style. And the reason I say metallic is because it goes with everything. It's the ultimate neutral, and it's a fun way to add a little bit of pop and personality into your outfit. So of course, black is an important shoe to have, but if you already have the blacks covered, try metallic for sure.
Metallic's great. And then leopard print, of course, is super fun. Yes, I've got little boots in leopard, gold, metallic, and silver. And, all were like picked up, at, really great prices. And, but you're right. They add a pop to your basic black or your white t-shirt and dark denim jeans.
Exactly. Because something that's really important for my clients to learn when we get to the outfit making stage of the process is how to put together an outfit that feels pulled together and polished. That's something I hear from all my clients, that they want to just feel pulled together. So you have to make sure you have enough focal points. I call them focal points in your outfit, because if you don't, that's when you feel blah, bland, boring, like you have a basic uniform. So metallic or animal print are such great ways to add those little pops of interest so that you don't feel just blasé.
Well, one thing, Megan, is I think a lot of people's weight is fluctuating right now,
Yes.
right? Because it's like we're not moving as much.
Right.
I think, we're eating our feelings to a
Yep.
degree. And so
Yep.
I'm just curious, of course, I live and I love black leggings, but,
Yes.
what would you recommend are some things too for people who, their weight is fluctuating a bit? I mean,
Sure.
everything stretch is great.
Yeah.
Even those dark denim jeans come in
Yeah.
stretch.
Yeah.
But what else?
And so it's so funny you said that. So I had a baby 4 months ago, and so I'm definitely understanding my clients that have been like, Megan, my jeans don't fit. I get that, and so I think dresses are our friend for sure, because when you find a casual dress, if that's your lifestyle, that fits your body type, and that is like t-shirt material or sweatshirt material, or like what I have on today is just like kind of a cotton blend. It's so comfortable and it's definitely forgiving. I have some dresses that I wore right after I had my son all the way to now where I've lost a significant amount of weight. So if you find the ones that are the right shape for your body type, they really can transition with you and they're very comfortable, especially if you are like sitting at home behind a computer or whatever that might look like. And you can throw them on with sneakers to make them feel more casual or a denim jacket. I will say stretchy is a wonderful thing, but it also is a curse.
Dangerous.
It is dangerous because I was
Yeah.
a few years ago, I started working with a client who's an architect and she works from home, and she had just been in stretchy, athletic wear, and because she worked from home, and she did not realize until she went to put on her jeans that she had gained some
Mhm.
weight. So while stretchy things are wonderful and I live in them as well, we do have to be careful because sometimes our other things that have actual waistbands can be that litmus test for us to kind of be like, oh, okay, I've been very much enjoying myself this week. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. No, I think you raise a great point. Well, one of the things too that I'm curious about is tips for kind of dressing at different age brackets. I hope that we'll all be irised. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
I
it's
know,
like
right? I know.
so it's not like, oh, I have to tone it down because I'm now in my 50s, but
Right.
it's like I kind of feel like as we get older, we come more into our own. So I'm just curious, do you have any tips on what you've noticed that has helped people as they've aged?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up. I think it's such an important topic and something that I feel like is not discussed enough because as we age, our style is a journey, as we discussed at the beginning, and it should continue to evolve in every decade of our lives. And so when I've worked with my clients in their 30s, for example, we mainly focus on how to up level their wardrobe out of their 20s into something that feels more sophisticated but still fun.
Mhm.
It's a great time to start investing in basics because at that point in your life, you have a better understanding of you're who you are, what your day to day is like. And so you want to start investing in those basics that we've discussed today. It's also a great time to start just taking care of your skin if you haven't already. I talk with my clients about beauty as well because it's a very holistic process. And it's a great time to maybe schedule a monthly facial or investing in an eye cream or things like that if you have not done that already. So the 30s are a great time to really be analyzing the various components of your wardrobe and up leveling. But then once you get into your 40s, I have a lot of my clients and I have a lot of clients in their 40s. And here's why. They often come to me feeling like a tween again. And here's why. They're not in their 30s anymore, so they're not looking to like be like overly trendy or try a lot of fun things, but they're not in their 50s and 60s and they don't want to be that mature looking either. So they don't know where to shop and they find that they either skew too young or too old. So in your 40s, it's really about getting crystal clear on your personal style for that stage of life And a lot of my clients in their 40s are, in a great place professionally. They are maybe have kids that are a little bit older, so they personally have a little bit more free time to invest in themselves and their wardrobes. So they definitely want to really make sure that they've got all of the pieces of the wardrobe puzzle. So they've got the basics, but they have the fun things too. And at that stage, we typically toss out any just like cheap, ill-fitting stuff that they've held on to that is no longer serving them, because that's not going to give them the polished look that they want. But as you said, it's such an important time to really be investigating further, like, who am I in this stage of life? And what do I want to be projecting, and really honing that into their personal style? Because I think in your 30s, you're more so making sure that you're up leveling what you're wearing and getting out of all the stuff you wore in your 20s. And you're beginning that process. Whereas in your 40s, you already done a lot of that. So it's really about honing in further of like, what is my style? I was working with a client recently, and she's a stay-at-home mom with 2 elementary school age kids. And when we first started working together, I mean, she wanted to be cute, but it was very much, she just bought whatever was on the mannequin at Loft, or she was in athletic wear. And neither felt like her, but she didn't know what else to do. So when we started working together, we got really clear on like, she actually really likes like a minimal, sophisticated look, but she didn't know how to do that in a way that was also appropriate for like the soccer field. So that's why she would always go to athleisure. So now we have her in just like really great, comfortable jeans, super cute, like little sneakers. And she loves just like minimal, pretty pastels and grays and things like that. And so we'll get her, a t-shirt that has like a fun ruffle detail to it and a beautiful blush, or a great like muted animal print sweatshirt, things like that are definitely practical for her day to day, but still have personality. That's
I love
really
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like basics with like flair.
Yes, exactly. And I think we all need those in our lives, but I think especially that's what I see with my clients in their 40s. And then for my clients in their 50s and 60s, I think it's about knowing how to look current. If they are classic, that's great. But I see with a lot of my clients in their 50s and 60s, they've held on to so much over the years that they really need a very thorough closet cleanse. And it goes back to what we were talking about with basics. You have all these basics, but you have to update them every, handful of years, unless it's like a Chanel blazer, which then you never have to update that. But for most of my clients, the stuff that they're wearing, they really do need to update it. So that's what we focus on, is like updating those basics. And really, at that point, sometimes my clients' bodies have shifted some. So we want to make sure we're finding things that they feel really confident in, that feels flattering to their body type, that may have changed a little bit, and not being afraid to have fun with their clothes still. I think that's what I see a lot of clients. They come to me and they're like, I just have no personality in my clothes, because I think they feel like, well, I'm getting older, so I have to tone it down, or I have to, not stand out too much. And so while all of us can't be Iris, which Iris is like Queen Bee, we have to make sure we have some sort of personality in our clothes. So I think that's a really important factor in 50s and 60s, is like current basics, and then having personality, but doing it in a way that doesn't feel like you're screaming.
And are there a few accessories that you would recommend that you're like, okay, you definitely need to have these, like scarves, I'm just throwing things out there, sunglasses, belts, particular, like the metallic shoes,
Yes.
Like, are there just a few that you're like, okay, if you added these into your wardrobe mix, your basics, your basic blacks, your basic neutrals, whatever, like you'd be golden?
Ooh, so would you prefer more classic things or more like what's in style right now?
Maybe what's current.
Okay. So I definitely think the chunky chains, we're seeing a lot of those. So chunky chain necklaces or a bracelet, that's more your style. And so you want to think about your frame and your height when you're considering a chunky chain necklace. I have a client who's like 5 feet tall. And so her chunky chain is definitely smaller than my client who might be 5'8". So pick it that, make sure it's in scale with your frame. But we're seeing a lot of those. We're seeing a lot of layered necklaces, which can be a fun way to update your classic go-to pieces that you already have in your closet. So simply layer them. And similar to what I have today, you want to have space between the two necklaces so that they're not becoming one big blob. You definitely want to make sure you have that layered tiered effect. That's one really fun thing. The other fun thing is what you have on. I personally love the silk little neckerchief. It is such a great way to add personality to an otherwise neutral outfit. Or I have a client that loves color, loves print mixing. And so we'll do print mixing with her scarf and an item in her outfit. So I think that is such a fun way to do it, because a lot of scarves definitely, the shapes come in and out of style. So infinity scarves are out. So we're seeing these instead. They're definitely not a way to add warmth per se, but they're a really fun, like, necklace alternative, if you will.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, any final thoughts, Megan, before I ask you the last question that you'd like to share with our listeners kind of about styling themselves chic?
Yeah, of course. I think the biggest thing to remember is we're all starting in different places and with our wardrobes and our style. And we all have different gifts. This is why I hire a bookkeeper. That is not my gift. So we have to give ourselves grace, because we think a lot of times as women that we should automatically know everything there is to know about style and dressing for our body types. But from what I see with my clients, if that's not something you learned from your mom or your grandmother, your aunt, or whomever growing up, or it wasn't something that really interested you, why would you know all the things like knowing your body type and your personal style, or what's in and what's out? So it's like learning French. We don't automatically wake up knowing French. It's something we have to learn and practice over time. So understanding how to dress for your body type, shop for your personal style, it's definitely something that is learned and takes practice. So give yourself grace is a really big thing. And that's, again, why I call it style coaching, because yes, of course, I shop for my clients and make outfits for my clients. But at the end of the day, I'm not there every day helping them get dressed. So I want to make sure that they feel confident knowing how to do that. And it helps us as women feel more empowered, for sure. So that's what I want to leave everybody on, is to give yourself grace and to know that it does take a little effort to look effortless, for sure.
I like that. Well, my last question for you, Megan, the name of the podcast, Tranquility du Jour. So for you, kind of with everything you're juggling, including a baby,
Yes.
How do you find tranquility in your everyday?
Yes. So it's so funny. It's definitely shifted now that I have my son and I'm back at work. I think two things. One, I have found like maintaining my workout routine has been invaluable. And it's definitely something in the morning when I'm so tired. It's oftentimes the last thing I want to do, but I always feel so much better taking that time for myself and moving it and de-stressing, because we all have so much on our plates right now. So that has been a huge piece of the puzzle. The other thing is at night, and this is something I've always done. And so it's been I feel very grateful that I'll be able to continue this after my son made his arrival. So after work, after he goes to bed, I love to like make myself a cup of tea. I'm a big tea drinker, and get my fur babies. I have 2 small dogs that I love. And that's when I take like a little bit of time for myself. I put on my favorite show on Netflix, and it's just so nice to like have that moment just to breathe and do things that feel really good and help you decompress. And then I always do some online shopping, because I'm always online shopping for clients. So, which I actually found very tranquil. So, which is nice.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate all the tips you've shared, and thanks so much for being here with us.
Of course, I greatly appreciate it. And for anyone that's interested in just learning a few more things about style, or learning what your body type is, if you don't mind me sharing, I'd love to tell everybody about my membership site.
Sure.
So I have a membership site, and it's called the Style Yourself Chic Society. And it's a monthly membership, and it is a website that houses all of my top style tips and tricks, and it has how-to videos, downloadable shopping list, shoppable outfits, and of course, a body type analysis so that you can understand what your body type is. It even has like how to clean out your closet, basically everything that you and I have discussed today. I go into more depth, and it's just every week my members get a quick new style tip, and we have a private Facebook group where they can ask me questions. So if any of your wonderful listeners are interested in, really honing their style, their body type, that's a great place to start.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
You can find Megan on Instagram, style.yourself.chic, on Facebook, A Southern Femme, and on Pinterest at Megan LaRussa. Also, if you haven't joined the TDJ Insiders Facebook group yet, please be sure to do so. We'd love to have you with us. We're reading along to an amazing book this month. It's so fun. I'm loving it. Get yourself the effing lilies. And also, it's a great place to make connections over in the Facebook group. So there's some amazing women there, and it's always a treat to have new people joining us. And if you're not yet signed up for my love notes, you can find out more information, of course, in the show notes, KimberlyWilson.com/514, or just drop me a note and I would be happy to get you all set up for it. The thing about the love notes is that's going to be the way for you to be the first to know about what's going on in the Tranquility du Jour world. Also, there's a link to my 6 books and planner. So those of you getting ready to get 2021 all set up, take a peek at the Tranquility du Jour daybook. And then there's also a link to TDJ by Kimberly, which is my locally sewn, eco-friendly clothing line, which is all about the basics, the essentials, mixing and matching, and really just like having a classic, easy, fun, flair-filled look. So again, you can find out more information about that, KimberlyWilson.com/TDJ. All right. Well, thank you all, as always, so much for tuning in and for inviting me and my guest into your day. If you have a moment to pen a review of this podcast over on Apple Podcast, Amazon, or Goodreads, would be so, so grateful. Wishing you a wonderful and stylish week ahead. Namaste. Thank you.